give the honor to my creator. I thank Secretary Cates and Supervisor Carson for putting this thing together, and certainly I want to welcome you distinguished panelists this morning. I told Rodney that besides being a doctor, I'm also an ordained minister, an ordained Baptist minister. I said, so that being the case, I should have gotten at least twice as much time as anybody else. He said, no, Harold, I just want you to talk about some of the issues and things that are pertinent to the inmate health care. Let me give you just a quick little view of some facts I got from the records department at the Santa Anita Jail. There are on average about anywhere from 35 to 3,800 inmates at Santa Anita, another 500 to 700 inmates at Glendyre Detention Facility downtown. So about 44 to 45, 4,600 inmates in both facilities on any one day. That's like providing care for a small city. Other numbers that are important is that how long are people here? The people who are that are called the pre-sentence, on average, men are here for 21 days. The pre-sentence women are here on average for 10 days. The sentenced men are here on average for 47 days, and the women are here for 36 days. Blend those two populations together. On average, the men are here for 34 days and the women for 23 days. Not a long amount of time to try to provide comprehensive health care for someone. So that is a real challenge in terms of the health care providers of getting information about the people that we're taking care of, providing them with the appropriate care that they need, and then hopefully in getting involved in terms of, and I think it's one of the most important things that concerns me today, is making that connection with the care that they receive once they leave the jail. Mr. Briscoe and I were talking earlier, there's a body of information he's going to talk about that talks about when people connect with health care, recidivism drops. But let me just talk about something that is extremely frustrating as a physician. And that is that a person comes to jail, you get a history, you decide on a plan, you begin to treat them, you see them improve, and then suddenly, because it's just the way the legal system works, they're gone. And in this facility, in a jail, we never really know when a particular person's when a person is leaving, and as we are giving our health care, one day they're here, the next day they're not here. So it's almost as if sometimes the patients kind of disappear, they're going home, but to us it's like they're disappearing into a void. And the thing that always concerns me is that when they come back to jail, in many cases, they're in much worse condition than when they left. So if that's the case, and if that's a continuum, that means that by not being able to impact on the health care that they're receiving once they leave the jail, the costs just continue to increase as they come back to the facility. So involved in that, that's why it's good to see probation, that's why it's good to see court. We need to be in some type of communication, some type of conversation about how do we make that connection when inmates are released from jail, so that we can send them to places where that health care can be continued. One of the things, Rodney said, well, Doc, what are some of the things that you'd like to have? I would love to have a much more effective network between the providers behind the bars, or providers behind the bar, or behind the walls, and providers who are in the community. Taking care of the same patients, hopefully dealing with the same issues, but we're not talking with one another because the system was not established or set up to allow that to happen. It allows that by not doing that, you get a lot of duplication of effort in terms of workups. There's information that's not being transmitted back outside to the providers and coming back to us in terms of what's going on with the particular inmates. So creating effective networks with community healthcare providers is key and extremely important. One of the things that we're trying to do, and I commend the Sheriff's Department for this, is that in the new contract, they push to have discharge planning. That's unheard of in corrections health. Having a discharge planner at a jail who begins to talk with inmates about trying to connect them with healthcare providers on the outside. The thing about it, as I told you, those days are so short that you can't wait till the day before to try to start the planning. You essentially have to start the planning the day they come into jail. And since this is something we're just beginning, the numbers are overwhelming in terms of trying to do that. So what we decided to do was start with the HIV population. Right now in this facility, there are probably about 50 to 60 people who are HIV positive and or with AIDS. So we figured if we could wrap our hands around that group, we can get a sense and idea of how to make this particular thing work. Another big issue that happens in a jail this size, we're one of the largest jails in the country, and I'm proud to say we're one of the most accredited jails in the country as well. And that is, inmates need specialty care just like you and I need specialty care. They need to see cardiologists, they need to see urologists, they need to see neurologists, they need to see dermatologists. How do we get them to receive that care? They, in this county, they compete with everybody else trying to get to Alameda County. I told you I need twice as much time, but I'll speed it up. So one of the things I'm looking at, I think I'd like to throw out there, is something called telemedicine, which allows a provider in a site, and the inmate does not have to leave the jail, and with real-time discussions and the consultations can go on. Another thing, again, the Sheriff's Department is looking at this, electronic medical records. That's just the way of the world. And we have to get the resources together to make that kind of thing happen. I think that would foster the kind of transfer of information inside and outside the walls between the providers. So the other thing that this says real quickly that is a challenge to us is that greater than 1/3 of the inmates in these jails are over the age of 40. So we're faced with all the chronicity and acuity of illness that you see in any major hospital or community clinic that exists in the county. So these things, just quickly, just discharge planning and working with courts and probation in terms of working with inmates, telemedicine and exploring the implementation of electronic medical records, creating effective community networks with providers outside, and hopefully at some point establishing training centers so that interns and residents can come inside the walls and learn about quality medicine. Thank you.